Now, fans of football often relish in this feeling of nostalgia when talking about strikers in football, because the current state of strikers in football is quite lackluster, with there only being a handful of world-class strikers in football right now. But there once was a time where every team under the sun had a striker that was an absolute freak of nature, with a lot of football fans immediately pointing to the late 90s and the early 2000s. Now, this was an era of pure strikers, these individuals that were seen as the final piece at the top of the Christmas tree. This was the guy that your team's attacking structure would be built around, which is a complete contrast to today's football, where strikers are now referred to as advanced forwards instead, and they should be able to press the ball, play make, be a poacher, and score long shots too. But these pure strikers that were in football during the late 90s and 2000s breathed goals. And even though on average their goal scoring numbers don't really measure up the same to modern strikers, they still were the pinnacle of this position, mastering the art of timing, positioning and finishing. Because there's a lot of strikers in football right now that can't do the one job that pure strikers were literally built to do, and that is finish the ball into the back of the net. And I think one great example of a pure striker during this time was Roy Makaay. In the 2002/03 season, he got 29 La Liga goals for Deportivo La Coruña, and this was 29 goals and no assists. His GA was just goals. Roy Makaay summed up pure efficiency, and if you go back and just look at some of his highlights, you will see that most of his finishes are with 2 or 3 touches maximum. Makaay was nicknamed the Phantom in Germany and was a Dutch striker known for his lethal finishing abilities. And I think the one thing that really stood out for him is his efficiency in front of goal. And during the early 2000s, he was one of the most feared strikers in the game, and literally he only offered you goals. That's it. Because he didn't really contribute much in build-up play, he didn't really press the opposition too much, but he just showed up. Now, after moving to Deportivo from Vitesse, Roy Makaay made a name for himself in this Spanish side. And it was that 2002/03 season that he really broke out onto the scene with them 29 goals, winning the Peeeeaaaace as La Liga's top goal scorer and also averaging way below, the amount of shots that other strikers in the league were averaging. And I think the most notable performance during his Deportivo spell was when he scored a hat-trick against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And this eventually played a direct part into Bayern Munich saying, you know what, I think let's just take him. Where again his impact was instant, scoring a goal every 123 minutes. And again, during his overall time at Bayern Munich, he was a revelation, being their main striker for multiple seasons and top goal scorer, helping them of course win the Bundesliga twice and also get a DFB Pokal. Now, although Roy Makaay kind of spearheaded this title as strikers during this time being so clinical, how many other strikers during this time were also doing similar things in different leagues? And I think another striker that perfectly exemplifies clinical finishing is Ruud van Nistelrooy, another Dutchman that played in the same era as Makaay. Now, Van Nistelrooy often gets overlooked when it comes to strikers in the Premier League, but during his time at Man United, this was a bagsman. He was the ultimate predator of the penalty box. He was the ultimate predator of the penalty box. And in the 2002/03 season, he scored 25 league goals. And this wasn't no small striker that was hiding behind defenders and popping up in the box. This was a beast, a physical presence, but also the ability to anticipate movements and get in behind when they needed him. Again, demonstrating that he wasn't always involved in the build-up play. He was just there as the fulcrum in the attack. The next season for Man United, in the 2003/04 season, he again got 30 goals in all competitions, whilst also making an impact in the Champions League. And even when he made the move to the Bernabeu in 2006, he continued that form that he had at Man United. In the 2006/07 season, he scored 25 goals in La Liga, winning the Peeeeaaaace aka La Liga's top goal scorer award, and also helping Real Madrid win the league that season too. And I think these things I'm going to tell you about Van Nistelrooy are really going to put in your mind how good of a player he was during this time, especially how good of a striker he was. With a Premier League Golden Boot in the 2002/03 season, La Liga Golden Boot in the 2006/07 season. He was also the top goal scorer in the Champions League in 2001/02, in 2002/03, and in 2004/5. And I think you start to see a common pattern when talking about these freaks of nature when it came to strikers during this time, with pretty much all of the main strikers during this time having that trait of being able to poach the ball in the box. Because not only did Makaay play in this era, Van Nistelrooy play in this era, but the likes of Filippo Inzaghi, a striker again who almost exclusively operated inside, the 18-yard box, a Champions League winner and just a baller for AC Milan and Juventus. Then you had the likes of Gabriel Batistuta, aka Batigol. Batistuta was an Argentine legend of the game. This guy was a prolific goal scorer that had a mixture of physicality and on-the-ball skill. And he is known as one of the greatest strikers from the 1990s and the 2000s. Batistuta was a goal scorer. In 94/95, he got 26 goals for Fiorentina, scoring in 11 consecutive matches that season. Then in the 98/99 season, he scored 21 goals in just 28 games, playing a crucial role in Fiorentina's title challenge that season. And again, this was him progressing with Fiorentina. He kind of stayed there from when they were relegated and brought them all the way up. And then even when he moved to AS Roma during the 2000s, he still replicated the goal scoring ability that he had back then, helping Roma in their historic season winning Serie A in the 2000s. But this guy was not only influential for his club, he was influential for Argentina on the international stage, helping them win Copa America back in 1991 with his 6 goals. And then in 95, he helped them again. They didn't win that year, but still, he got goals in that competition. Now, the top scorers in football today are the likes of Harry Kane and Erling Haaland. These guys that completely obliterate the strikers that I mentioned in this video when you talk about just the number game. But these strikers are just outliers in an era that strikers are kind of fading away, as teams are slowly but surely using strikers less, with only few having a claim to be called world class. And I think it's an incredible contrast when looking back at this time where strikers, again, were freaks of nature. Because the list of strikers that you can talk about that played during the 90s and early 2000s absolutely topple over strikers in football that are playing today. You had the English bagsman himself, Alan Shearer, that was playing again during the 90s and late 90s. You also had the likes of Hernan Crespo, scoring 26 goals for the likes of Lazio. And this guy was a freak of nature. He had the athletic ability to just out-jump defenders. If you see some of his goals, it looks like he could just be taken and put into the modern game. You also had someone like Christian Vieri, aka Bobo, who again showed dominance during his peak years. And I haven't even talked about the likes of R9, George Weah and Thierry Henry, who all, their careers spanned during this time, the 90s and the early 2000s. R9, when he first came about, was the guy. From PSV to Barcelona to Inter Milan, wherever he went, goals followed. And this wasn't just during his club time too. It was when he went to Brazil. He was literally winning them the World Cup by himself. In his 96/97 season for Barcelona, he got 34 goals in 37 games. And if you want to dive even further into just this poaching ability that strikers during this era had, look at Raul, with over 200 goals whilst playing in La Liga for Real Madrid. Before all the superstars joined, Raul was the guy. And if you're still not convinced, during this same era, we had Shevchenko, who went on to win a Ballon d'Or. We had Trezeguet, who, helped France internationally. And what I'm really trying to get at is that modern strikers are just a shadow of the past. Because online, there's a lot of murmurs that strikers during the 2000s wouldn't be able to keep up with the strikers of today. And if you look at the general landscape of strikers in football right now, honestly, it's appalling. There's a bucket full of like 7 strikers that you could kind of claim to be world class, and that's it. But back during this time, every other team had a striker that was absolutely balling out, and that's why you had standout seasons where strikers were winning the top goal scorer award whilst playing for a team that wasn't even one of the best in the league. So essentially, strikers during the 2000s were freaks of nature, and you can't tell me otherwise. But again, you look at the 2010s, you look at these guys, yeah? Maybe that's another video for another day. But yeah, as you guys can see, I love talking about strikers, Name me some strikers during the 2000s that you fell in love with. Talk to me about strikers right now. Who's on the map? Who's the next big thing? And of course, This has been Jib Rules, back with another video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers before my birthday, which is February next year. So can we do it? Let's help along the way. If you want to support the channel even more, you can become a member and get access to all my unlisted videos. And of course, stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.